Hello and welcome back to Watching Worst Film, the weekly podcast where we delve into our journey to go through the worst picture winners or losers of the Golden Raspberry Awards. I am Kyle.
And I'm Jericho.
This year we're heading back to 1993 to look back at the winner for the 1992 Worst Picture. So just for some context, do you know what the best picture was at the Academy Awards this year at all?
92. So 93 was Schindler's List, or was it? 91 was Silence of the Lambs. 92, I couldn't tell you.
It's a personal favourite of mine. It's actually one I wish we could have watched. It's,
Unforgiven. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, of course.
So that's this is where we're sitting at right now in 1993. At the top of the charts, we have famous white reggae artist Snow with his song Intruder. So we're looking good. Any guesses this week as well? What's happening in The Simpsons in March 1993?
Is Michael Jackson on it? That's probably way too early.
No, you are way too early. It's the last exit through Springfield where Homer becomes a union rep for the nuclear power plant.
Wow.
A dental plan.
Season 4. Braces. Wow.
Yes.
Relevant.
So that's where we're at now. So that's where the cultural world is in 1993, and we are here for Shining Through from 1992, which is directed by David Seltzer, who is best known for The Omen, the original film The Omen.
Oh, really?
And the 1986 double Cody bill with Charlie Sheen, Lucas.
Wow.
So we've got this World War II drama, thriller, love story, with a budget of 30 million and...
Which it made all of that back, I'm assuming.
It did.
It was massively profitable.
A gross returns of 43.8 million, which meant no money is made.
Yeah, when you adjust for marketing and things, films needing to make twice their budgets in order to be in the black, then this was not a happy studio executive making film.
Absolutely not. And by all appearances as well, it is a personal project of the director. He also did the screenplay, which was adapted from the book by Susan Isaacs. So it's joining the long-standing tradition of Razzie films based on novels. Another one to add after Mommy Dearest and Cocktail,
and
50 Shades,
and the Lonely Lady.
And the Lonely Lady. It just goes on and on and on. He also produced the film as well, so it gives me the indication that this was a passion project of his. So as always, we'll go dive right into it. What is your background with this movie?
I had never heard of it. You?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I kind of pride myself because this is as we're kind of into the mid-90s, where we're getting away from the shadow of the 80s, and the 90s is finally having its own identity of itself. But I pride myself on this time period, and when we've looked through 92, I've seen far too many of these films. But Shining Through, I've never heard of. I've never even... Nothing about it, completely blind. Even on its title alone, the film wasn't what I was expecting. Just knowing the title. So absolutely completely blind to me.
A fun game I used to like to play was like with movies that you've not seen, like sort of like big totemic movies. If you try and like make up the plot based off the title or based off what little things you know. So like Sophie's Choice, I had like such a clear vision in my head of what Sophie's Choice would be. Even when I was a kid and I heard Reservoir Dogs, I was like, oh, that's an 18 and I can't watch it. And the only reason I can't watch things is because they're scary. So Reservoir Dogs must be about like werewolves that live in a reservoir and like, oh, it's going to be like a... So Shining Through could be anything with that title.
It could be a straight-to-DVD Shining sequel. It could be something about anything. It could be anything.
An Adam Sandler movie about a guy who polishes trophies but never wins them.
That was actually my initial plan for an introduction, was to say, welcome to 1993, the year Sandler has finally taken over SNL, and we're going onwards and upwards. But no, like, especially in this time period of 92, we've got Schindler's List around the corner, we've got Sophie's Choice just passed, and this kind of slots into that sort of
Holocaust
trend,
mania.
Yeah, Holocaust mania, 100%. But it has slipped through or shown through the cracks. It's not stayed in the public eye at all. It's not stayed in any sort of relevancy. No one's quoting this. No one's parodying this. This is, it's by all accounts, I would say, a forgotten film.
Yeah.
For its budget, its cast and size in particular.
Exactly. It's got like an A-list cast. But I'm curious to see what it's like on Letterboxd, because when I was logging like the Lonely Lady or whatever, there was only like 30 reviews or something. Like Shining Through has to have more just because of its cast. But like, I don't know, this is a good little piece of trivia for you. Like if anyone's like, oh, like name a Liam Neeson movie, then like if you're doing one of those quiz things, we have to go through and just Shining Through. I feel like exactly. Shining Through is a good pointless Liam Neeson movie, I reckon.
A Liam Neeson Holocaust movie is still going to get the points, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, and I think that is a good question for our listeners, because although I never seen The Lonely Lady, I knew about it, and it's notorious so bad it's good quality and things, like I said. And I know people that would have watched it just on that sort of like cult classic sort of way.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone, I mean, I think more people have seen, I could be wrong, but I think more people have seen The Lonely Lady than Shining Through.
Interesting.
Could be wrong. I mean, it depends what people watch a movie for as well. Do you watch it for the cast, or do you watch it for its infamy? You know.
Yeah. If you want to watch a Liam Neeson movie, you've got like a million options. Whereas if you want to watch a Pia Zadora movie,
exactly, you're limited.
The window's smaller. Yeah.
So anyway, let's get through this film. Why don't you lead us through some of the plot then?
Oh,
Jericho?
Christ, you're throwing that over to me. Despite me saying that, I was like, you are going to have to carry this, Kyle, because I will. Away with the birds. But
I can preface it by saying as well that I paid more attention to this movie than Morbius, so I will be of more use.
Okay,
it did have my attention. I mean, again, spoilers. I didn't like this film. I didn't have fun watching it, but it held my attention compared to Morbius or Transformers, or some of the ones where I'm just dead to talk about, and I don't know, I just can't say anything. At least I have something to say, so I can help burden the weight of this film for you.
Share the load, Master Frodo. Yeah.
I hope you're Sam.
So it starts off, and it's kind of doing a Titanic thing. So
a Titanic's doing a Shining Through, actually.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
It's an homage to Shining Through.
So we were watching this film. We haven't done this, actually. We were watching this film through less than legal means, once again. We'd synced it up, and the site wasn't working, so we missed the first couple minutes. And then at the end, I was like, I'm just going to go back. It's probably just going to be like the titles, but I'll go back and watch them just... As we've covered, I'm a completionist, and so I went back and watched them, and I was like, oh, this is actually quite a good opening. It reminded me a little bit of The Wonder, the Florence Pugh film, where she's like...
Which we
You've seen it?
Yeah, I actually just watched it literally a couple of days ago. It dropped on Netflix, and I caught it.
And you know how it starts with like the warehouse film set?
Yeah.
Which is doing something. It's making a statement in The Wonder, whereas in Shining Through, it just starts with like sort of like a pan round like a studio, breaking the fourth wall, the artifice of movie making, and what's even her name?
Linda.
Linda. Okay, Linda is getting interviewed by the BBC, the King's own British Broadcasting Corporation. She's doing an interview on the BBC. And as we said, it's a Titanic thing, so it's Melanie Griffith in old lady makeup, which, let's just say, 40s to 90s, shall we say? 50 years. So she's like slightly younger. Well, she's younger than she would be now.
Well, because I didn't think it was all the way up to the 90s. I thought it was just based off the BBC set, like early 80s. Late 70s, maybe.
You're right. You're right. So shall we say
I was
like 30 years?
30 odd years. So like she's probably close, and that's why I made the comment. She's probably close to Melanie Griffith's real age, now,
Yeah.
mid-60s.
Yeah.
But it's very generous to call this old lady makeup as well, because there's a little bit of spotting around the neck, and her hair's pulled back, and that's it. It's very little, and she doesn't even put on an old lady voice or anything. It's exactly delivered how she does 30 years previously. But anyway, carry on.
In Mr. Razzi's book, that's one of the things that he criticises her for, is giving a bad old lady performance, because he says that she just has the Betty Boop voice, and there's no there's no sort of like aging to her vocal cords.
Yeah,
I agree. Good call, Mr. Razzie.
Yeah, that is a
credit where credit is due, you slimy bastard.
Especially when you're opening this is the first like dialogue we're hearing from our main character. So like, I don't expect an Betty voice. I just expect something, maybe just a little croak or lower at a decibel, anything. But no. So she's given an interview to the BBC. You can carry on.
So before I realised it was a Titanic thing, at first I thought it was a When Harry Met Sally thing, because it's just a little, the backdrop's kind of the same, it's like a beige brown backdrop, just a little talking head, speaking about the Holocaust and her life. And so she was like, we were Jewish migrants to America, and it wasn't a great time to be Jewish, but I love the movies. Folks, movie magic. Didn't matter if it was the first war, the second war, all of them. I love them.
Because I like it that this is what established this character, that she's half Jewish, half Irish, all dangerous, and she loves the movies and has got kind of like us, she has every piece of knowledge has been taken from the pictures.
If Linda was born 50 years later, she'd be speaking in Simpsons references.
So she knows all her pop culture through this. He also establishes as well that she knows German, brought up from German immigrants, but she's told to speak English to not give away being a Nazi sympathizer or a Jew, just to sort of not give away your identity.
Yeah, it was basically, it's like you're fucked. Either you're a Nazi or you're the victim of the Nazis, and either way, people aren't going to love you. So just try and distance any connection from Germany.
Which gave me the slightest bit of excitement when I was hopeful that we were going to get Melanie Griffith doing an Irish accent for 2 hours instead. Got slightly excited, but no. She, despite being half Irish, half German Jew, she sounds straight from the East Coast, I guess.
Yeah.
She's no, I don't know how to say it, but she's got no realistic attachment to what she is or what she's meant to be portraying.
There's no cultural weight to her.
No.
She's like very waspish in terms of
And so this is kind of like establishing Linda, our main character. But anyway, continue on.
And so she's speaking about the movies, and then she gets a job working as a typist or a secretary or whatever.
That's what
at a place. And from there she meets Michael Douglas, who she just like, she outs him as a spy. Like,
pretty quickly as well. Well, she's seen the movies, Jericho. She knows what's gonna happen. You know?
I don't know. He throws his hat onto, he throws his coat onto a stand, like Bond or something, and she's just like, that's it. Only a spy does that. And so she identifies him as a spy, and then she's immediately like, I want to be a spy too.
Well, first they get together. They quickly become romantically involved.
Well, do they get together? That I couldn't remember the chronology of she outs him and is like, oh, I want to get with him, or
and again, I know we just watched this film, but from what I remember, outs him, they become entangled, and then war declared with America. Because this first chunk of the film, the establishment is most when I was zoned out, because once war is declared and America get pulled in after Pearl Harbor, Michael Douglas gets conscripted or called up, or I can't remember, but he's involved in the war, and we get the Casablanca scene.
I think, is this around the 40-minute mark? Because I was like, the first 40 minutes of this film, I agree with you. They were absolutely interminable, and I was just like, well, they weren't interminable bad. I was just like, there's nothing here to keep me interested. And then when stuff starts happening and you get a little bit of momentum, I'm like, oh, great, now we're cooking with gas.
This is exactly it. So the Casablanca scene where he's leaving for war and dumps her on the runway, then just hops on, he's the last one to get on the flight, whatever. It caught my eye because, we're in an external set now with real planes, and we're out of law offices where we'd just been spending half an hour of nothing, like absolutely nothing. She was out in a bad translator spy, and there's other little things that are happening in this law office world, but the film doesn't kick in until he wants to go to war, or does go to war rather.
Have we got the chronology of this wrong? Because the strudel comes before he breaks up with her, doesn't it?
Yes. So I think I just fucking jumped right past the strudel.
So war's declared, and do they go off together, or they're sort of like he's involved in spying, and she's like, I want to get in on this. I can speak German. You can't. I'm useful. And he's like, no, war is no place for a dame. And she has to try and talk him into letting her go undercover and letting her spy for the Allies. And you're jumping ahead, because that's only when he comes back with the other girl on the dance. Okay.
So
apologies.
So basically, he goes off to, I was paying attention. So he goes off to war, and she joins the secretaries in the basement of the war effort.
Yeah.
And she is deciphering codes, and she learns his name is Trooper, I think, his code name rather. And she's trying to track where he's going, and he's behind enemy lines. And she admits in this scene as well that she has to move on, and it's over. Like she can't be stalking him essentially, by telegram. And so she does move on. Like that's the point that when she goes to a nightclub, and that's when Michael Douglas reappears.
She goes to Rick's.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Michael Douglas appears with an officer or general, a lady military person with him, and there's awkwardness, and he demands to talk to her. I quite like there's a little scene bit as well where he's kind of forcing her to try and dance, and another male tries to come up and break up, and I'm with Melanie Griffith, and he's like, fuck off or I'll pull your throat out, or I'll take your Adam's apple or something. I quite like that, and she starts crying, and it's quite intense for what this film is. But anyway, now that he's back in the pit, and this is kind of already the problem, this first it could start here with oh yeah, you're back from the war. I did not need to see the first 45 minutes.
The first 45 minutes could be like 5-10 minutes.
It could be old lady Melanie Griffiths just telling me in a monologue that's just over the credits, and I'd have been fine. I once knew a lawyer who turned out to be a spy. He went off to war, broke my heart, and now he's reappeared in my life.
Yeah.
This is where she now tries to convince him she wants to be a spy because she can speak good German, she can make the best strudel, and she's perfect, despite not being able to do anything.
Well, that's what wins him around. Like she runs round to his place in the middle of the night with strudel and like sort of shoves it in his face like, look, this, if the Gestapo look at an American strudel, they will like execute that woman instantly, but if they look at my strudel, only I can make an authentic German strudel. And he's like, I thought he was going to bite it, and we're going to get that like him mulling over like, God damn it, I hate to admit it, but she's right. The woman makes a damn good strudel. But no, he just kind of holds it, and he's like, yeah, you know what? You've got a point. You're in.
Yeah, it's so good I don't even need to taste it. I can. Yeah,
I can see.
Sensory overload, just experiencing it.
We're gonna bring in the Inglourious Bastards thing here. Is like, I wish there'd been like a scene like the Michael Fassbender thing where he does the like. He does the, what is it? He does the wrong. Yeah, three. Wrong three, yeah. I want to see a scene like that where like other spies are eating in a lockup, And Christoph Waltz comes in with his little cake fork, and he's like, good strudel, but you know, in American strudel, they tend to use a little bit too much cinnamon. Klaus, Fritz, kill them.
See, I seen it like the down in the club from Inglorious with that accent, you know, where is that accent from? And she's still speaking Guten Tagen. This is what gets her kind of implausibly involved in the movie. I mean, you've got to suspend your disbelief this far, but now she's involved and the film's about to kick in. So they smuggle her to Switzerland, I think.
Yeah, they do. That's where they meet my favourite character in the film.
Yes. And do you remember his name? Because I can't.
No, I just know his code name, which is the legendary Sunflower.
Yes, that's exactly it. And he's the one that's going to smuggle her actually into Berlin and give her a new identity.
So they meet the legendary Sunflower at a train station in, let's just say, Zurich. And Michael Douglas is like, we're looking for like the legendary Sunflower. And Melanie Griffiths makes like eye contact with like a young guy on the platform, like a young sort of handsome guy. She's like, ooh. And then he's like, no, that's not the legendary Sunflower. That's the legendary Sunflower. And you see John Gielgud just sort of standing, looking a bit Michael Caine-ish off to the side.
Which also, as soon as I seen that, reminded me of the Water Boy. No, that's not your daddy. That's your daddy. I love the comedic pan as well over to him. I thought it was such a nice touch because this is quite a humorless film. So these little moments is what I was enjoying the most.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't know. I like him just because the fact that he's introduced with the legendary Sunflower, that's such a good code name. And then the fact that he's played by John Gielgud, like a legendary stage actor, just he gets nothing to do. He's barely in the film.
I mean, his introduction, especially when they're on the train together and he's mortified at her accent and oh shit, like this is gonna be harder and stuff. Like, this is where I expected the film to go much more of a spy thriller. And he's going to have to be, you know, like, he's the master, she's the new one, and he's got cover for her. She'll learn, and there's going to be a montage of practicing accent, strudels, whatever. Like,
you want your Rocky montage.
Well, because I mean, the poster for the film kind of spoils that I knew Michael Douglas was going to be involved a lot more. Yeah. But he didn't need to be at this point.
No.
He could have just been a secondary cast, and now the film's about to begin and we're going to get a good spy thriller. But no, like you say, John's wasted in this, and it must be one of his final roles or towards the end of his life, right? He could go on and live for another 10 years for all I know, but he's an older man at this time anyway after his career. Yeah. So Sunflower has just taken Linda over Melanie Griffiths to go live with him and his niece. I've forgotten. Can you remember
her name?
Or is it his daughter or his niece? I've forgotten already.
I think it's his niece and Marguerite.
Marguerite, that's the one. The one. So she goes to get her new identity and sort of like learn what her role is going to be and how she's going to, because her goal here is to retrieve blueprints for a unmanned microfilm. Sorry, that's it.
No, they are. Of
the blueprints. Yeah, so she's got a small camera to take pictures of the blueprints for a bomb, an unmanned bomb, I think. I can't quite remember.
A MacGuffin of some variety.
Yeah, some MacGuffin. It doesn't really matter. And then, take us away. What happens next?
Oh Christ, you've thrown me in here.
So I'm carrying this.
she ends up in a household, in a Nazi household, and that is where she meets the dashing Oscar Schindler.
Yes.
And she strikes up a relationship with him. He almost outs her because he's like, that woman has not got security clearance. Has she? And then he just kind of like, she's like, oh no, I have. And he's like, okay, cool.
That's it, because it's when he's picking her up after so she botches a dinner because she arrives late, undercooks the dove. The person she's staying with, cooking for her, gets mortified and fires her. She runs out the house, and Liam Neeson comes out to woo her and win her over. And there is a line there where he's like, it's so hard to find a woman that's Gestapo approved or checked, isn't it? And she's like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's really hard to find one. One with an American accent. So that's how they sort of become entwined. He lets her know that he's a widower and he has 2 kids, and it's fucking hard to find a nanny for 2 kids.
It's hard being an SS single father.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he invites her to become their nanny for the 2 kids, the 2 English accented kids. So that's where we're at just now. But she's still spying, but she can't find any. And she does search through his house as well when she's being the nanny. She's trying to find for these plans, for this bomb, and she can't find anything. And then is this when Michael Douglas reappears back into it?
I want to say so. Yeah. Round about now,
Okay.
I think. Oh, is this when he sees? Is this when he sees the footage of her? He sees the newsreel back in New York, and he's like, "Hang on, that's my ex. What's she doing?"
That's my spy as well. Yes, so that's why he travels across.
Yeah.
And again, I think I'm going to get this timeline a bit messed up, but this is when she discovers where her cousins, that are Jewish cousins that stayed behind in Berlin, which is the reason she wants to go and be a spy as well, is to find out how they're doing. She finds out their location through fish, or through a fishmonger, and I can't remember what the phrase was. Do you remember what the phrase was?
Oh,
the spy phrase.
Again, we've lost the chat that we used when we were watching the film. Oh, what was it? Was it something cooking about salmon or strudel? I can't remember what their secret passphrase of like, do you have a match? Mm-hmm. No, I use a lighter. I can't remember what that was, but I can't remember what it actually was and what we just riffed, but it was some food based.
It was something. And then there's a bit of I quite like the fun scene when she's got to fight over her fish with the secret message encoded into it.
Yeah.
I thought that was great fun. But it's at this point that she does meet up with Michael Douglas again, and she wants to stay to find her relatives. And he does. He gives her, I think it's another day or a week or something, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, she goes down to her relatives' cousin's hiding house place and finds it's all been destroyed. It's all been completely torn apart, and they've been unfortunately taken away by the Nazis. So with this, as soon as she finds out this and she's recoiling in horror, is when the bombs hit, which is my favourite scene in the whole film. It's really well done. I mean, get straight to it. There's a very strange, because they're at the zoo. This is the pretense they're there for, so she can take them to the relatives. She's with Liam Neeson's kids. But anyway, the bombs hit and they're at the zoo, so you get to see a zebra running around the streets of Berlin while the bombs are falling. But it's very bombastic. It's very large scale, on set shooting as well. There's some.
It's a good surreal scene.
It is really good. It's really well done. And in a different film or a different way, this would have been fantastic. Can't gush about it enough.
I feel like I've seen or read about it before, because that was a thing that actually happened, wasn't it? It was like the Zookeeper's Wife, the Jessica Chastain film. I feel like that was another like World War II zoo movie. But I'm sure I've read articles about Berlin Zoo being bombed and all the animals just getting set free.
I mean, what'd you do? Yeah, like that's it's seen, especially again. We're lucky to be in 1992 at this time because it looks great.
I was going to say exactly. It's just a film ending on celluloid with like smoke and fire.
Smoke. I'm seeing squibs and explosions, and I've seen real crumbling and real. Oh, just it's
made now. We'd have CGI Chris Rock running across a green screen.
I think it's coming off the back of Morbius as well. Is when I'm. This is what makes me enjoy this film in particular and this is where I have to stop for some praise, because the aesthetic's really nice. I mean, there's a lot of real locations. I can tell that it's not all in Berlin, and there's obviously sound stages, but there's a lot of on-set, I assume in Berlin or Germany, Poland maybe. Even when the trains are pulling in, it's filled with extras dressed as Nazis, and this is where I get excited. This is the only time where I'm like, this is a real movie, and there's a lot of care and budget into this as well.
Yeah, I don't want to go
but-
all cinema paradiso of like making my Belfast or my Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's just going to be me as a kid in the 90s going to watch like I don't know, like Rocky and Bullwinkle, just like teary-eyed as I watch the print flicker through the projector. But I don't know, I'm sure kids in the future, like kids now, will be saying the same thing about Morbius of like, you know what, they don't make them like they used to. But there just is something different when it's shot on film, everything's tangible, and even if it's crap, there's still something going on.
I think that's what makes it slightly, like melancholic for me, is because there is quite a lot of care, especially in the executions of set pieces in this, but no one's ever going to watch them. Like someone might, but like this is, in my opinion, more of a forgotten film. This doesn't happen in The Lovely Lonely Lady. This is just and this is overshadowed, like I said, with the time. No one's going to watch this over Schindler's List or Sophie's Choice or any Holocaust Mania film. But I think what makes it so powerful and why it's funny in such a bad film is because the scene that immediately follows when she's taking them home, the kids home to Liam Neeson, and the little child is, oh, Daddy, did you forget about your basement where you keep all your secret things? And it's dropped in so clunkily, and he's like, oh yes, oh Daddy, your secret basement downstairs where you keep all your hidden stuff. And Melanie Griffiths' eyes light up because she can finally go find the plans now. It's that like immediate following of something I find impressive to just the most ham-fisted, clunky, like preposterous. I'm like, if all the ways to find out, it's just, fuck it. The kid will tell them where it is.
Listen, we've all been writing scripts, we've all been doing assignments, and it gets a little late in the night, and you're like, look, okay, I just need something to happen, like placeholder. It doesn't need to be great. It just needs to be done. Kid turns up and tells Indy where the Ark of the Covenant is. Kid turns up and says like, oh, actually, Rosebud is the sled. So
there's like, it was that kind of contrast as well. It made it crash. That any excitement I had while I was watching this with you just comes fucking crashing down. And then, then we're on the home stretch now.
Well, Kyle, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah, please do.
Are you speaking German?
I am sprechen Sie Nein Deutschen.
Because it just randomly clicks back to the BBC. Like, for the most part, it's just the framing narrative of once we start, we're in this story, and we don't really ever phase out. But I can't remember exactly how it happens, but it's just suddenly interrupted with the BBC guy going like, "You're speaking German," and she's like, "Oh, am I?" And he's like, "Yeah, like you slipped into German."
and I forgot about that because then she delivers the classic line, "Oh, it's because I remember that part in German."
Yeah,
and I quite
think
like
in German.
I think in German, but only for this certain little time period of my life, it was fucking ridiculous. And again, it's a weird, because then you're not using it as like a bookend. You're not Titanic. I don't remember in Titanic having old lady popping in an hour and a half through the film.
Yeah.
You use it to bookend, to like sort of frame your film. I have no idea why that scene was in here. I guess it was humor, but whatever. I forgot about that as well. It was a funniest scene. But anyway, now we're home run. She sneaks down. She gets her photos of the rockets, and then Liam Neeson takes her to the opera, and I went out for a cigarette.
Yeah.
And, missed the next 5 minutes.
You missed the most pivotal part of the movie, and so like I don't know, I was like tuning in and out before, but when Kyle was like, "I need to take my dog out," I was like, "Okay, right, that's it, Jericho. This is your one task. You're gonna pay comprehensive attention to everything that happens here," and it turned out to be like a really gripping 5 minutes. So almost as soon as you leave, she's leaving. She's leaving the opera house with Oscar Schindler, and I feel like I have seen this film play out like a million times. Like I think this might happen in The Talented Mr. Ripley as well. I think he
Okay.
gets like busted leaving the opera house. But like the moral of the story is if you're undercover, never go to the opera. Because I guess a
Hmm.
big thing at the opera is boxes where you're side on, and the idea is that you're not meant to be, you don't get a great view of the performance, but you get a great view of each other and you get to be
Yeah,
seen.
yeah. Well,
But
if I was assassinating a president, that's what I would do.
when we make our film in the future, we're gonna have someone getting outed, like leaving a screening of like Spy Kids 2. That's where they're gonna be discovered. But anyway, she gets Marguerite's mother bumps into her and is like, "Oh hey, like it's you, like my daughter's friend." And Liam Neeson, Oscar Schindler's just kind of like, "Huh? What? What's going on here? My good Aryan woman." And then I think that might actually be where the screen grab that is my background comes from. Is they then have that like drive home
Oh
where
yeah.
she's kind of like, "Oh no, what am I gonna do?" Like suspicions have been raised, and he's like, "Well, how do I deal with this?" And so he's kind of like fiddling around with his gun, loading his gun, and then she runs away. And then we get like a weird sort of like scene where she's just running through the streets of Berlin, like trying to find a way out, basically, like, where am I going to go? And so she runs to the house of the legendary Sunflower, thinking like, like my contact, my handler, he'll help me. And I saw this film a matter of hours ago. I've already forgotten it. I'm fairly sure he's in his pajamas. In my head, he's sort of in like a sort of like smoking jacket and maybe like a wee willy winky cap. But he just sort of comes to the door and he's so casual and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And she's like, "I've been outed. Like the Nazis are gonna like kill me and torture me for information." She's like, "No, don't bring them here. Like then they'll get me. Go and find somewhere else." And so he just closes the door on her and she's left like running off. You're like, "Oh no, I don't know where I'm gonna go," running through the streets, and you're just waiting for like Liam Neeson to be like, "Oh Linda, come out to play. I have a surprise for you."
That's like, because that's where I rejoined.
Yeah.
And I remember asking you, is Neeson on the hunt for her? Because I've seen that film as well in my head. I was like, okay, great. Now Neeson's going to be, trawling through the streets of Berlin, pistol in hand, knocking on doors, and we're going to get a nice chase or something. But no, that doesn't happen.
No.
Our twist happens instead, I guess.
It was another Inglorious Bastards reference for me. I wanted the shot of Liam Neeson watching her run down the street and just be like, "Au revoir, Linda." But yeah, so she finds Marguerite and she takes shelter with Marguerite, and she's like, "Oh, thank God, I'm safe." And then she looks at Marguerite's photos. And again, this is another like really dumb moment of exposition where it seems like a placeholder of like you just put it in, you're like, we'll find some better way of like handling this reveal in the next draft. But she just kind of finds a photo, like a photo booth photo of Marguerite with like Nazis. And she's like, "Oh, like hang on, wait, why are you?" And she's like, "Yeah. Surprise, bitch. I'm I'm a double agent." Yeah, you.
But did that mean Sunflower was a double agent?
No. Sunflower was just shit. Because remember, Sunflower's in it at the end again.
Yeah. You're right.
So no, Sunflower is like brother, sister. Sunflower's just like from bad blood, basically, and didn't properly vet his family members. Which is amazing. Like, I don't know. Again, we haven't really spoken about it. Trying to wean ourselves off imagining a better film than the one we're watching. But I was like, and even now, I'd kind of still be willing to see it. Maybe you'd cast Colin Firth, but I want like the years of a young Sunflower. Like, you make Sunflower like this sophisticated spy, and I just want to see what other adventures he had. Maybe he is like a legendary spy, or maybe he's just like a complete bullshit artist where it's like, no, he never did anything, but he has this like fantastic ideal of himself.
I absolutely be up for that. He's also a veteran of 2 wars, and I was like, ooh, what was the other one? You know,
My man,
obviously
the legendary sunflower. He gets
yeah, I was
around.
like, I was sitting there, and again, I'm not seeing a World War One spy. I'm like, oh, maybe he was in the Zulu
Boer War?
campaigns or something. Yeah. Some
Uh,
colonialism in the 1800s.
So, like, I don't know, if he is as legendary as his name suggests, you kind of wonder, like, oh, why is Marguerite, like, I don't know, maybe blood's thicker than water, but you're like, surely Marguerite would have, like, handed him over to the SS, unless she's just like, oh, my uncle's, like,
Well, I think
he's just a blowhard.
Again, this is a better film than we're watching, but I would imagine if I was a Nazi spy general and I had Marguerite turned, I would not want her to. I mean, she'd tell you everything about Sunflower, but to keep her cover, you know, the US will never suspect that the niece or daughter of the most famous spy is going to be. No one's going to think James Bond Jr. is working for Spectre, kind of thing. So I kind of like that as well. I'd have liked to seen Sunflower's reaction a lot more.
Yeah.
Again,
maybe
there's. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I was like, maybe the SS like didn't compromise him because they just wanted to get drinks with him and hang out and hear his stories. They were like, yeah, sure, like I could hand this guy off up the chain, but like I'm just gonna get drinks with him every Thursday night and hear his stories about wars he served in. We don't have Netflix in the 40s, so the escapades of the legendary Sunflower is the closest I'm gonna get.
So anyway, though, with the reveal, Marguerite shoots Linda. She collapses down. They have a little fight.
Well,
Linda,
she shoots her a bunch of times. Like, she takes several bullets to the chest, I think. And that's when we're like, well, this is it. She's a goner. Like, it's a good thing we don't see this woman as an old lady speaking to the BBC, because that is certainly a fatal gunshot.
Well, again, it's the fundamental problem with having that as a bookend as well, isn't it? It takes away any suspense that's going to be happening. There's no tension because, well, she lives, even though she's been riddled with bullets. But anyway, they should have
done the bait and switch of they're like, and so that's how my identical twin sister died.
Here's what she would have looked like if she did live. But anyway, so she's riddled with bullets. She's on the ground. She levels the playing field. She gets Marguerite's gun. They have a little wrestle. She shoots her right in the face, which I quite enjoyed. It's a shame it wasn't a bit more graphic as well to have that impact.
This is where we do want Tarantino to direct.
This is what I do. I don't know. There's something missing in there to make it impactful. I mean, whatever. It's just a point blank range shot to the face, and a hair tussle's all that happens. But now we have a badly wounded Linda who crawls down a laundry chute escape thing, I think. Yeah, I'm again just watched it. I forgot how she survives and escapes, but she does. And point is though, she's found by Michael Douglas. Michael Douglas scoops her up, tries to get her away. He is at this point as well, forgot to mention, mute because he has a bandage around his throat because he
which he got German. From performing oral sex on his wife, didn't he?
Exactly. Poor lucky Catherine Zeta-Jones, isn't it? I'm just too good at it. It gives me cancer. So anyway, he's dealing with his throat cancer. To try and get past, he tries to smuggle her through the trains. Nazis get suspicious. He shoots out, pegs it across the border, gets riddled with bullets, and falls over the finishing lines, a la Cool Runnings. So they make it to Switzerland.
That was like my favorite. I actually kind of liked the bandage as an excuse for like why he won't speak German. Is like, Jericho mouths mutely, for podcast listeners. But like, I actually kind of liked the bizarre like idea that like they're running towards the border of Switzerland and the Nazis are shooting at them. And they're just like, God damn it, if we don't get this man like before he like crosses that border, that's it. This is where they need Daniel Bruhl from Inglourious Basterds, like the star sniper, to just like take him out because he's
100%.
running to try and get across the border into Switzerland because like once we're there, we're safe because the Nazis would be committing a war crime if they shot a man across the international border, and God knows they don't like doing that.
Yeah, they take one shot after he makes it over the border, and then the Swiss sniper on the other side instantly goes full fucking chaotic and wipes out the guard tower. You know, like, you don't fuck with the Swiss. We warned you.
In Switzerland, we are good at two things: making clocks and killing. And we've made all the clocks that we can think of.
But I'm going back on the bandage around the throat annoyed the piss out of me because, like you're saying with the miming, it's if you had a full face burn thing on, you could just he's a war hero. He's like the mummy, just smuggle him through, you know. But because he is immaculate, I mean his hair is in perfect place. But no, one bullet hit me right in the throat. I can't. I'm out. I'm done. Like this little plaster, you know, like, 'cause I can't do anything. So I'm not proud of the Nazis, but I'm proud that they noticed that and they read right through it because Michael Douglas can do better.
I'd love if he gets caught out doing the three thing of he's like, okay, you know what? There are three of us going. He's sort of signing, being like. 3 across the border, and they're like, hang on, wait, that mute man's just used American sign for 3.
So anyway, they make it across the border, and surprise.
Michael Douglas has also been like riddled with bullets at this point in time, and
at
that's
least
when
3 good shots. Yeah,
again in the torso, not limbs, none of the like secondary stuff, all sort of like big wounds. And this is where I said to you, I was like, oh, this is like the Titanic moment. We know that Melanie Griffith is alive, but like this is gonna be her Jack. Like he's gonna like sort of push her across the border with like his last like ounces of strength, and he's going to give her like a nice little piece of jewelry and tell her not to let go. But no surprise, we jump back to the present day where she's interviewing the BBC, and she's like, oh yeah, no, like my husband, like turns out like he lived and he's here right now. And so they bring in Michael Douglas
with my sons as well.
Yeah, with my sons. Which I said to you, the sons are kind of freaky looking. Like the sons,
very weird.
It's a bit like the end, like the epilogue to Harry Potter, where you've got these like 20-something teenagers made to look middle-aged. Whereas like these sons look off. There's just something not quite right about them. And we haven't seen them when they're younger, so there's no reason they couldn't just cast like actual 40-something actors. But it
100%.
looks like they've done the James Dean like giant thing of like got actors and then kind of like shaved their hair to give them a receding hairline or just put like stage makeup on them.
And I don't know if that plays into because it's, you know, Melanie Griffiths and Michael Douglas aged up and they didn't want to cast genuinely older actors to play their kids.
Yeah.
Like if they thought that was going to be too strange, it's like, fuck it, we'll just age up weird.
We'll age up everyone. This baby's going to be like their grandson. This baby's going to be their 20-year-old grandson. It's like The Simpsons, where it's like, why are you painting that cow? Horses don't look like horses on camera. What do you do if you want something that looks like a cow? Tame a bunch of cats together.
Very much is so. And then that's it. That's the end.
Yeah, that's it.
They made it. She was a hero. She was the best strudel spy that ever existed. And yeah, that's it. That's the end. So yeah, that wraps it up. Quite again, I apologize, listeners, for our slightly disjointed roundups. I blame Morbius and Shining Through for that. But so how did you find this film?
I didn't dislike it. I didn't like it. It was just kind of a bit of a nothing. Like I can see how in other hands the story could have made for a compelling film. Like the book is certainly like I can see how the book could be a good story. Mostly I spent a lot of the time just in my own head trying to work out like, how did this win the Razzie? What's going to happen that's going to make this worthwhile? Is this like is this something that just like is this like Driving Miss Daisy winning the Oscar? Is this like a you had to be there, folks, moment where like was this a hilarious box office bomb at the time? And it's just like I don't know, it's like Pulp Fiction or whatever. Like in retrospect, we're all gonna look at these hilarious movies, but at the time they were just kind of like, because it's very bizarre. I don't think this movie is particularly Razzie worthy, apart from Melanie Griffith, really. And so I didn't dislike this movie. In fact, this is probably better than a lot of the movies we've watched in a lot of regards. So yeah, that was kind of my experience. The only thing I thought, and which is slightly confirmed by Mr. Razzie's book, is he mentions it being like a chick flick. And I was like, is this again just like the internalized misogyny of Mr. Razzie being like, this movie's like, you know, the movie Allied with Brad Pitt and Marion Cotillard? It reminded me a little bit of that. Where I was like, oh, it's kind of like a romance involving spies during the war. Anyway, I was like, I can see a version of this that does the romance successfully and is kind of like more of a romantic story. And so I'm like, have they just picked this because they like hate movies that are sort of like targeted towards women? And so they're like, ha ha ha, look at this. Let's issue like much more like sort of glaring and obviously bad movies in favor of this just sort of like damp squib of a studio offering.
Absolutely. And it's kind of my echoing kind of my sentiments. This is the most run of the mill, mundane, average film to win a Razzie. It never has that extreme highs or lows, you know, that we kind of come to expect a little bit. I didn't hate this film. I think this is a weird one because subjectively, it's not for me in any way. The runtime started to kick my ass. I just got bored, and it wasn't for me. But objectively, there's a lot that I kind of praise about this film. I think it's well crafted. There's a lot of care in it. There's some set pieces I really like. Costumes are wonderful. The score was fine as well. Very kind of reminiscent of the times. Very fitting though. And I kind of think that if you had all these elements, you had the budget and the locations and costumes and the idea as well, you can really make a good film out of this. Like you're saying, there's spy thrillers. I think that the biggest problem here throughout the whole film, other than the plot, is Melanie Griffith. She's pretty bad. Like
her voiceover is really not good.
Fucking awful. It's just, and God bless her. Like I do think she's trying. But I'm gonna say this is one of the worst lead performances I've seen in a Razzie film so far.
Wow.
Especially in relation to the rest of the film as well. I mean, Pia Zadora's not in this. Bo Derek's not here. They're competing at, like I don't think Melanie Griffith.
They're in a league of their own, but
I don't think Melanie Griffith would have done any better in The Lonely Lady. I don't think she would have done any better in Mommy Dearest or anything. Like I just don't think she was, up until this point. I don't think there's anything to write home about, and that's the biggest problem I have with this film, apart from the plot and the weird pacing. I think if you had an editor, you had another, like you say, another draft of the script, there's something in there. But overall, it's not the worst. It's not the worst film I've seen from 1992. It's not the worst film
certainly not
that we've watched on the Razzies. And I think towards the end of our journey, I think we'll probably end up putting this in the middle. We'll probably forget about it, as most people have. Society's moved on, and so will we. It is a strange choice though, and other than the sort of internalized misogyny about it being a chick flick, I don't understand why this won the worst picture.
And the weird thing is that it's not like it was Mr. Razzie was alone in this. Like the Stinker Movie Awards, who were running before the Razzies and who sort of like wrapped up in the 2000s, this was their winner as well. And there's a lot of perplexing nominations that they have, but it is weird that both the Razzies and the Stinkers decide that this was the worst film, in a year that was certainly not lacking for bad candidates. Like, if this
Well,
is the worst film of the year, it must have been a pretty good year.
well, that's exactly what I was thinking. I actually did the research as well before we watched it, and it's sitting at about, I think it's 41% on
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes, which is far too high to be the Razzie. It's far too high, and that's exactly where it deserves to be, right in the middle. Like,
Yeah.
for every nice thing I can say about this film, there's a bad thing, and vice versa. So,
Like, it's the PH7. Like, you can calibrate your watch by, like, this is just like complete neutral, true neutral is shining through.
and this is it. When we were watching this, about 10 minutes in, is when I returned to you and said, "Why we could be watching Stop or My Mom Will Shoot." You know?
Yeah. Are you complaining that Mr. Razzie is being too kind to Sylvester Stallone?
the one time Stallone should absolutely win it, unquestionably, and he gets robbed. You know,
Story of his life.
story of his life. The one time. So yeah, there are a lot of strange choices. But yeah, it's not a film I'd recommend.
No.
And I'm like, you know, even The Lonely Lady and some of the Cocktail and things I would recommend for watching in a group. This isn't fun. It's hard to riff on.
I'd recommend it just because I would like more people to speak to about it, because I want to, like, back up my own opinion. I want other people to see it so I can be like, is it just me, or is this movie like nothing? Like, this movie, like, gets an undue bad time. Like, I want other people to watch it just so I can be like, did you hate this? Like, did you think this was particularly
well, that's
awful?
very true. So if our lovely listeners would give it a watch and report back, that'd be great, because
Chime in.
and let's get the great debate about fucking shining through.
The legendary Sunflower fan club can always use more members.
So Jericho, what other nominations did Shining Through get at this year's Razzies?
So, as you know, it won Worst Picture. It was nominated for Worst Actor, a joint nomination for Michael Douglas with Basic Instinct and Shining Through.
Okay.
We'll speak about whether Basic Instinct was enough in the second half, but based off this, I don't think he earns it from this. Do you?
I don't. No, and I'm not his biggest fan, if I'm being honest. But I don't think he does anything particularly wrong. Not right, but again, he's kind of reflective of the movie itself for me, where for every good thing there's a bad thing. He exists, but I don't think it really warrants a nomination, and I'm glad it didn't win at all.
Then we have Worst Actress. Melanie Griffith won for Shining Through and A Stranger Among Us.
Okay.
So, as we sort of covered, she's the closest thing to bad, objectively bad, about the film.
Yeah, 100%.
So I don't...
well nominated, well earned win in my opinion.
Yeah.
Don't want to dunk too hard on her, but it is bad, unfortunately.
Yeah, we can deal more with her competition, but certainly just in isolation, it's not as if it's an unjust winner on paper.
No, not at all.
Then we have Worst Director, David Seltzer, won for Shining Through.
The winner. Okay.
Yeah.
That surprises me a little bit. Because I don't think. I mean, because it's written, adapted, produced, and directed by David Seltzer. Again, I will say there is a lot of passion in this. If it's a direction of performances, he failed miserably, but it's still cohesive enough. There's still a vision in there, so I understand the nomination, but I don't think he's a winner.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, it's too cohesive, and while not particularly successful, like, it's competent. So I reckon there's going to be worse nominees. And then the final nomination, Worst Screenplay, Shining Through, screenplay by David Seltzer based on a novel by Susan Isaacs.
This is a bit more understandable for me, because the screenplay is obviously a mess. It's again, this is coming from the pacing, the first 45 minutes, and some of the weird. Again, if you just tune in halfway through it, he doesn't deserve it, but because of a lot, because I was gonna stick up for him to be like, you know what, in someone else's hands this might have been, like in Quentin Tarantino's hands, this might have been an okay, like, screenplay,
but then I forgot about the kid exposition, and I forgot about the entire first act of the film. Like screenwriting 101, grab them from the start, and instead we'd watch 40 minutes of this film being like, oh god.
So like, and then, you know, it's also probably a reason why this has got such a bad reputation is because of those first 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe Mr. Razzie didn't watch the whole way through, but I assume he did.
How dare you?
Questioning him. But no, this is a worthy nomination, and it could have won as well.
Yeah. So the smallest fix or the smallest change you can make to make the biggest difference for this movie, we sort of identified it earlier on. Lean more into Melanie Griffiths being a movie fan, like make her us, because there is a bit where she's like smuggling the film out, or she's getting the fish, and she makes a movie reference where she's like, this is just like they did in the Bridges of Tokery, or like I wanted more like that, like when Michael Douglas is breaking up with her, I want her to be like, this is just like Casablanca 1942. I want her to...
No, but see, this is what Casablanca hasn't come out yet.
I know.
So she's predicting the future.
Yeah, I want her to be Deadpool, or maybe
like
you can do it with
1986.
Yeah, maybe you can do it with Melanie Griffiths in her BBC interview, where she's like, "It was just like Casablanca." And,
I kind of enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be my only change, is just like make her a movie savant, or she is a movie savant, so just let her do it.
Will join us in the next part when we wrap up all the nominations and winners from this year's Golden Raspberry Awards, and we'll see you very soon. Hello and welcome back to Watch and Worst Film. We are way to wrap up and go through the 13th Golden Raspberry Awards, the winners and the nominations. Hello again, Jericho.
Hello, Kyle. So, first up for you, I have the other contenders, the losers from Worst Picture. We had Newsies. Have you seen Newsies?
Newsies. I have not seen Newsies. I've not. I've never heard of Newsies actually. So
you haven't heard of Newsies? I've seen Newsies.
I don't think so.
Newsies is the musical about the paper boys starring Christian Bale.
Young Christian Bale. Yeah, it must be right.
Post Empire of the Sun, but still like
okay,
sort of teen.
Yeah, no, this is it's a mystery to me.
Yeah, wow. It's Les Mis. No. It's Les Mis, but with like Brooklyn, like extra, get your newspaper here. It's actually like a really good like class solidarity. It's a good like seizing the means of production movie where I'm like, like Marxist icon Christian Bale. Because the news boys are sort of like getting run out of business by Robert Duvall, who plays like a big like news magnate who's like speaking about William Randolph Hearst all the time. He's basically like rights free William Randolph Hearst. And then the newsies are like, hey, you know what? Like if we control the news, if we print the news, then like we can control it.
Oh.
Anyway, I like Newsies. Definitely not worthy.
That's fair enough.
And this is coming as someone who doesn't really like musicals, but no, doesn't deserve its place here.
Very fair.
Final Analysis. Have you seen that?
See, this is where I'm really disappointed because it's 1992 and I expect it to romp through these and have so much information. But then I get Newsies and Final Analysis. No, I've not seen Final Analysis.
No, I haven't. It's a neo-noir erotic thriller, so surprise.
Well, the spoilers, if they're an erotic thriller and they're on the Razzie nominations, I have not seen them.
Have you seen Christopher Columbus, The Discovery?
Is that the one with Brando?
Yes.
Then yes, I have.
Is it Razzie worthy?
I haven't seen it since I was a child, so I'm not gonna... Or young teen. No, it's not in my opinion. From what I remember, but compared to, again, this is kind of comparative to what comes out in 1992. Off the top of my head, no.
It's one where like I don't think I've seen it, but then I'm like, oh, I may have seen like I feel like I might have seen like 45 minutes on VHS at school when like
This is
over Christmas or whatever, when they were like, well, we want to show you a video. You're not technically studying this, but another class is, and it's the only video we have. So guess what? You're watching 40 minutes of Christopher Columbus without context.
100%. And it could have been a school one for me too, or a Channel 5 early 2000s showing. I just have pockets of memory from it. But from those pockets of memory, I still don't remember it being, offensively bad. So I'm going to give it, again, compared to what does come out in 1992, I'm going to give it a pass.
Before we go on, I just want to say, if I should stay, I would only be in your way. So I'll go. But I know I'll think of you every step of the way. The next nominee is The Bodyguard. Have you seen The Bodyguard?
We have our new introduction as well. So The Bodyguard, even less so. I do vividly remember my parents watching it when I was a child.
I think my grandparents had it on VHS.
Yeah,
I remember seeing it. Yeah.
It's one of these, and I'm trying to make sure it's not like seeped in through pop culture, but I can remember, it could be a false memory, but I remember sitting on a sofa watching this as a 8-9-year-old boy, and I have no memory of it. But I know the soundtrack better than the film.
Yeah. Well, I just watched it, and it's not great. I think it's top of the nominations list for this, but
Yes.
I don't think it's particularly deserved. It's another Melanie Griffiths thing where I would say certain components of it, but as a whole, I don't think it deserves that reputation. When there are some things about it I actually quite like. Do you just want to hit us with some of the other things that you think should have been in contention for Worst Picture? We'll deal with a lot of them for nominations, but
yeah. So we're gonna come back up to it very soon. But Stop or My Mom Will Shoot was like the go-to one for me, where I was like, okay, that's 92. That's notoriously bad, and again, as a diehard Stallone-nite, I hate it. So, and and this is where I was expecting. Again, I'm a questionable action hero fan, but Seagal came out with Under Siege, which was his Die Hard on a boat and a huge blockbuster, one of the biggest films in 92. I expected that to be here, just because it's what it is. Hellraiser 3, I spoke to you about, is awful, and I will die on the Hellraiser hill, but it's a really bad film. Again, this is 1992, so it's the year of Three Ninjas and stuff. There's a lot of guff that come out in this time as well. The worst film I can remember from 1992 that I wrote down was Lawnmower Man. I fucking hate Lawnmower Man, and I love it in a bad way, but it's a so bad it's good film. It's notorious, it's infamous for how bad it is and how enjoyable it is to watch. So this is what I was kind of seeing. I'm seeing like schlockier films, to be honest with you, going through the nominations. But Stop or My Mom Will Shoot was my runaway favourite. What about you?
I will confess I perhaps didn't do as much research as you in terms of drawing up the shortlist. Most of my calls we'll talk about later on as they come up for individual nominees. The only other one I would say, in fact, I think it does come up, is Toys. I've not seen Toys in its entirety, but Toys seems like a movie that the Razzies would hate.
Toys, absolutely. I forgot about Toys, which actually reminded me of what should have been the absolute winner, is Tom and Jerry, the movie from 1992.
Of course.
It is, again, it's so widely known, it's so bizarre. I'm going to make a musical and make them talk and they're best friends, and it's
I hate
strange.
It so much.
And I think what the biggest surprises we're going to go down as well is it doesn't take any nominations.
No.
Which is super surprising. So I was expecting Stop or My Mom Will Shoot or Tom and Jerry. These are the top two, and that's a schlocky action comedy and a kids film. Would absolutely take it away. And I thought Tom and Jerry would have been a Razzie pick as well because of kind of how influential and how well known it is. It's a good time to dunk on it.
Okay, so moving on. Worst actor. We have Tom Selleck in Folks. Have you seen Folks?
I have not seen Folks. Have you seen Folks?
I have not seen Folks either. So I guess moving on. Jack Nicholson, double nom for Hoffa and Man Trouble.
Okay.
Have you seen either of those?
I watched the first half of Hoffa in preparation, or no, just in the aftermath of The Irishman.
The half a Hoffa.
The half of well, I started it because Nicholson, directed by Danny DeVito, and I was like, and Jimmy Hoffa. I was kind of curious after The Irishman. Was trying to watch a bit more media and read more about it, but I turned it off. I don't think it was
damning.
Such a bad film. It's just I shouldn't have watched it straight after The Irishman. But Nicholson, I don't remember being that bad in it. Definitely not nomination level. But he could have been fucking awful in Man Trouble, and maybe he deserved it for that. So maybe it balances out.
Then we have Michael Douglas in Basic Instinct and Shining Through. So we've covered him in Shining Through. Basic Instinct, I don't think he deserves it for that. Do you?
No, I don't. You know me, I'm a Verhoeven man. I don't think he deserves it for it. I think it's more the doubling up effect here because of Shining Through. It's like a double dunk or whatever. No, he doesn't deserve it for Basic Instinct.
Well, we'll just take this little opportunity to talk about Basic Instinct, because I watched that in my preparation for like this episode, because I didn't really look at the nominations and just saw that it had a few. And I was like, I'm going to have to watch this for Basic Instinct 2 just for my own neuroses.
Yes.
So I will watch it while it's relevant. And then, like, I didn't really know anything. And it came up, first thing you see, a Paul Verhoeven film. And I'm like, I'd forgotten it was Paul. We're in good hands. I was so excited as soon as I saw that title card. And I was like, of course the Razzies would hate this. Of course they're going to hate some European pervert doing like high class like filth. But everything about Basic Instinct, I was like, this is what Body of Evidence was trying to be and what Body of Evidence wanted to do. But it was made by a hack, whereas Paul Verhoeven can actually do this kind of thing. And so I enjoyed this, but someone I want to bring up is the name. So I recognize Paul, and then it was like written by Joe Esterhaas, and I was like, I've read that name on the podcast. He's been nominated or won something. So do you want to hear a curation of highlights from his career?
Okay, no, yeah, please do.
Joe Esterhaas, writer of Basic Instinct, writer of Sliver, writer of Showgirls, writer of an Alan Smithy film, and the first person to win 4 Razzies for a single film.
Okay, so that's why he came up. I was actually, because I have a little note here. I have something that pulls Basic Instinct into this as well. Basic Instinct's cinematographer is Jan de Bont, who is the cinematographer on Shining Through.
Wow. I never connected that.
Because I looked him up while we were watching this, because when I was gushing about some of the scenes and some of the sets, he also was the man that directed Speed, and he was a cinematographer on Die Hard. So I was like, there's a good credentials going through there. But he also did Basic Instinct.
Wow. I have a little piece of trivia for you. So you know, like Joe Esterhaas, arguably the most cursed behind the camera person in the history of the Razzies.
Yeah.
Do you want to know where it began?
Lay it on me.
He co-wrote Fist, or F-I-S-T. Do you know what that is?
No. Is that Stallone, isn't it?
Fist. He co-wrote Fist with Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah,
and it was another Jimmy Hoffa movie.
Yeah, because Fist is the first one post-Rocky. It's Stallone's first post-Rocky film.
Yeah.
Which I didn't watch after The Irishman, so I don't know which way I'm on about. But it's lucky because it's pre-Razzie, so he managed to escape the nomination for them. But anyway, we'll be coming back to him with Showgirls and Alan Smithy, so looking forward to that.
That concludes Joe Esterhaas talk for now. Back on topic with Kevin Costner in The Bodyguard as Frank Farmer. What do you think?
Again, memory is far too hazy. I'm not a Costner man, and we'll be coming to this when we get to the Postman episode. But I'm just going to pass. No comment.
I hate Kevin Costner with a passion in Dances with Wolves and Robin Hood. I like him. I think he's kind of aged into gravitas with Man of Steel and Let Him Go. But I'm not Kevin Costner's biggest fan. So I was expecting to go in guns a-blazing. I was ready to take my shot at Kevin Costner in The Bodyguard, but I was kind of surprised I didn't want to pull the trigger. I think I think there are other people that could have played the part better, but I don't think he's bad necessarily.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And then the winner. Let's wheel out the polyphonic. Let's wheel out the polyphonic Eye of the Tiger once again. We have Sylvester Stallone in Stop or My Mom Will Shoot as Sergeant Joe Bomovsky.
What? Is that his name in it? You could have said any name there. I'd have believed anything. Again, I'm going to die on the Stallone hill, and we'll come to our Stallone special where I gush about him for 2 hours. But Stop is the lowest point. It's also like his worst performance up till this point as well, because I mean, you're going to love what I'm going to say, but he doesn't have the Schwarzenegger comedic timing down just yet.
Well, I want to say, is this the notorious film that Arnie tricked him into doing?
I thought that was an urban myth.
Yeah, so for the listeners who aren't as au fait with Stallone Schwarzenegger lore as we are, the rumor is that Arnie had his reps leak that he was interested in Stop, like Stallone was in talks or whatever, and Arnie supposedly leaked that he was interested in it, and Stallone is like, that's it, no, I have to do it. And this is Arnie, like, psychological warfare, as we see him do in Pumping Iron. Like, Arnie's devious. Yeah. Arnie has a little finger politician streak to him. No wonder he became governor, because he has that kind of, like, Machiavellian streak to him. So yeah, he apparently tricked Stallone into doing Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
And you know what, it wouldn't surprise me. But anyway, the point is, it's not his finest hour. It's worthy of a nomination, and it's worthy of a winner as well. So objectively, it's terrible, and rightfully so. Yeah, I have to admit it, and I don't like saying it, but yeah, Stallone deserves this one. This isn't a me screaming over cliffhanger situation. This is, he's genuinely terrible, and you can tell there's almost a point where, I don't even know, it's probably the first few scenes in, and you can tell he's been tricked into it almost, because of the regret and it's somewhere in between phoning it in and not even phoning it in, just cashing out. But yeah, sorry Stallone, you deserve that one.
I just want to say for that moment, like, listener, take your bask in the glow of Kyle saying that Stallone is genuinely terrible. Because I don't know if you're going to hear that ever again.
In this one film. he swings it back up. Cliffhanger's just round the corner. It's all good.
Okay,
until we get to Rambo.
Okay, so worst actress, we have Sean Young in Love Crimes. Have you seen that?
I have not seen Love Crimes. Is this an erotic thriller?
No, I don't think so. It's American thriller about an assistant district attorney who tries to seduce and apprehend a psychopath. I thought that said seduce and destroy for a second.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, so then we have Whitney Houston in The Bodyguard. You're gonna play the I was 5 years old. I don't know.
I was young. I do remember Houston being under par, but like my childhood, I'm giving it a pass, and she gets a pass just on my foggy memory.
It's one of those ones where like it's a tough part, because you need someone who's gonna, like, she might not necessarily be the best at acting, but she does have that sort of like performer star charisma that you need for the part to work. The biggest issue I would say is that her and Costner just have zero chemistry, and we'll deal with that later on. So nom certainly, but I don't know if she's not a clear winner. Then we have Lorraine Bracco in Medicine Man and Traces of Red.
So no, I mean I know Lorraine Bracco through The Sopranos. I assume Traces of Red is a erotic thriller. Medicine Man, I am not seen. I've heard of it.
You're gonna like this. Traces of Red is James Belushi.
Oh, Mr. James. Cool name, Belushi. Is an erotic thriller starring James Belushi. Because that might be our next special. But no. I know her as an actress, but unfortunately I've not seen either of these two films, despite just hovering over Medicine Man sounding like one of the greatest things I've ever heard in my life. Maybe we should watch that instead. It's a John McTiernan film with Sean Connery. Yeah, I count me in. But no, I've not seen either of those.
Lorraine Bracco, I'm just trying to place this. She must have been enjoying a post Goodfellas bounce in '92, and then I reckon this double bill might have seen her in the doldrums until The Sopranos, perhaps.
Yeah, but I mean, it must be because what's this, 92, Sopranos 99,
and Goodfellas 90. So
yeah,
yeah. Then we have Kim Basinger in Cool World and Final Analysis as Hollywood and Heather Evans, respectively.
So I can finally actually talk about one because I have seen Cool World. That is the terrifying Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Bikeshi or whatever, Ralph
Bakshi. Yeah,
that's the one.
I'd never heard of Cool World, and then I was dating a comedian, and she introduced me to it, and it is I love it. It's insane.
It's absolutely. It's one of a film I actually seen when I was younger at first as well. I think post seeing Who Framed Roger Rabbit and being terrified of it and like just so confused.
Who is it for? Who is it for?
And watching it back years later, and I was like, oh yeah, wait a minute, Brad Pitt and things are in this. This is a weird film.
Yeah, Gabriel Byrne's in it. Gabriel
Byrne as well. Yeah, it's such a weirdly cobbled together film. So I'm gonna give her a pass. I don't think she's probably nomination worthy in it. I think Cool World is missing from nominations, I think, based on its bizarreness, but
yeah,
I'm gonna give her a pass here. But if she's worthy on their other nomination, what is it, Final Analysis, that's the erotic film, so maybe she deserves it for one but not the other.
Yeah, I agree that Cool World dodged a cartoon bullet in avoiding more nominations, because Kim Basinger, like, I don't know, it's hard to, like, Hollywood isn't a sort of like in-depth psychological part, so like I don't see how she sort of went wrong in playing that part.
No, agree.
Then we have the winner, Melanie Griffith in Shining Through and A Stranger Among Us. You've not seen Stranger Among Us?
I have not, no. But I have seen Shining Through.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you ask me that question in a week, I will probably have forgotten it, and I'll be like, no, Shining Through? What's that about? We'll move on then. Worst supporting actor. We have Robert Duvall in Newsies as Joseph Pulitzer. Oh my god, I thought he was like a made up person. I was like, oh, he talks about William Randolph Hearst. He's like playing like Charles Foster Kane. No, he's playing Pulitzer. Okay.
How is he in it?
He's fine. Like they've stuck some fake facial hair on him, but he's just kind of doing the Robert Duvall performance. Like he's not. Yeah, he's okay.
That's fair. No, that's absolutely fair.
Then Mr. Daniel DeVito in Batman Returns as Oswald Cobblepot, aka the Penguin.
So this is probably the first time in a couple of episodes where we've had a nomination that is so insane and so ridiculous. And this is strange. I mean, personally, I guess maybe other people have other opinion. I love DeVito as the Penguin. I love him in Batman Returns. I love it. I think it's unanimous to most people now. Maybe in 1992 reception was a bit frostier, but I don't think so. I think most people have settled on it being so good.
I thought some nerds were like, this doesn't have enough Batman in it, but otherwise I thought everyone liked it.
Well, see, that's exactly. I mean, and there's probably so I think the only thing I remember from like fans or nerds or whatever was
the forums back in 92.
Yeah, it was Christopher Walken basically just playing Christopher Walken and taking up airtime. You could have had two villains, certain character plotting, but I mean, Returns is my favorite Batman film, and I love DeVito in it.
He's so good,
and it's one of these. It's in the nominations it's standing out because there's no other nominations for the film. It's just DeVito, which is odd to me. I don't understand this. This is one of the weirdest nominations I think I've ever seen in any of the Razzies so far. So do not understand it.
It's puzzling. This might be something once we've seen the bigger picture. Maybe like the Razzies just had like sort of like vendetta against him off the basis of something else, and they were like, hey, guess what, Danny DeVito's made another film, let's nominate him.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking with the Hoffa nominations, which again isn't a film that, from what I've seen, didn't deserve to have this many nominations. So maybe it's just a bit of DeVito biasness, or an agenda, but it's fucking ridiculous that he's here.
And then we have, this is a good year for The Godfather. We have Marlon Brando and Christopher Columbus The Discovery as Tomás de Torquemada.
Oh, well said.
Any recollection of Brando?
Yeah, no, like I do actually remember a bit of Brando in it. I think it's he doesn't have this bigger role as the billing would suggest. I mean, anyone's opinion on Brando post 80s, 70s, whenever you want a cut off point, anything after Apocalypse is always going to be a bit hit or miss. I can understand it. Yeah, I do understand it.
Then we have Alan Alda in Whispers in the Dark. Have you seen that?
I haven't. Is that another heroic neo-noir thriller?
It is, yes. And it's about a Manhattan psychiatrist who finds herself in the midst of a homicide investigation after one of her parents is mysteriously murdered.
Okay. So no, I only know Alan Alda through MASH. I can't think of films off the top of my head.
You must have seen him. You'll have seen him in other stuff.
I will. But I never seen him in. I mean, obviously I've seen him. I'm trying to think though off the top of my head. But I have not seen this film, so I'm not going to give him any. I'm not going to dunk on him too hard.
Okay, and then we have Tom Selleck in Christopher Columbus: The Discovery as King Ferdinand of Spain. So double nomination year for Tom.
Yeah, 2 noms. To get nominated for Worst Actor and win for Worst Supporting Actor. I assume Tom Selleck is coming off, well, this is probably his heyday, right? This is post Magnum PI. This is probably the most exposure theatrical build films he's ever going to be in. So I can't really speak on Tom Selleck, the film actor, as much as television, so I'm going to just pass here.
Okay, then we have Worst Supporting Actress, Sean Young, another double nomination year, in Once Upon a Crime. So she was in Love Crimes for lead, and she's in Once Upon a Crime for supporting. Have you seen that?
Okay. I haven't. I mean, I know about it. It's Belushi as well, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's I know of it, but I've not watched it myself. I think it's... Who else is in it? Another comedian in it.
Richard Lewis, John Candy.
John Candy, that's the one. So that's the only reason I know about it. But I've not seen it, so no comment.
Jean Triplehorn in Basic Instinct. I don't think she's deserved.
No, absolutely
Basic
not.
Instinct knows what it is. Everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet. Tracy Pollan in A Stranger Among Us.
No comment.
Anne Margaret in Newsies. No, she's fine.
Yep.
Estelle Getty, winner for Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's systematic of the film, isn't it? Like, I like Estelle Getty. I like the Golden Girls. I'm not gonna jump on her head, but it is awful. It's she's playing Estelle Getty as well. Like it's barely acting. Yeah, it's bad. Deserves it.
Yeah, and then on to Worst Director, Kenny Ortega for Newsies. Kenny Ortega has had a very weird career. He directed
I was just going to say the name rings a bell, but I can't think of
High School Musical.
I don't think that's
Hocus
what I heard
Pocus. Hocus Pocus 2.
Pocus. Okay, that's what it would have been.
Michael Jackson's This Is It.
Okay, I have seen that. So yeah, okay, that's what it would have been. I think it'll be Hocus Pocus I'm thinking of, or This Is It. I'm sure there was something, but okay, it must be it.
No, he's not deserved for Newsies.
No, that's fair.
I would say that he's kind of like a poor man's Rob Marshall in terms of he just seems like he's good at doing those big musical set pieces, which is kind of a skill in itself. So no, actually, he's kind of impressive in what he does in Newsies. And then we have Barry Levinson for Toys.
Oh yeah, well then that's the first time Toys has come up, which is what we were speaking about earlier. I mean, this should have been a guaranteed nomination. Pretty much throughout. I mean, I would have been expecting a nomination even for Robin for Worst Actor. Even if it's not deserved, I expected the nomination to be here. Toys is a weird nightmarish film. It's a film I rented a couple of times as a kid on VHS, expecting Mrs. Doubtfire, expecting fun, expecting Toy Story as well. I think probably at that time it is not that. So yeah, I'm surprised it's not popped up until now.
Then we have John Glenn for Christopher Columbus: The Discovery.
So I'm gonna say no. I mean, I'm a big John Glenn stan. He does my favorite Bond films. the Timothy Dalton
okay.
ones.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, there's a groan. So I'm always going to stand up for him. No man that can direct License to Kill can be a bad man. So yeah, I'll give him a pass.
Danny DeVito for Hoffa.
Again, I've spoke about this before. I don't think it's warranted, but
it was a David Mamet screenplay. That's interesting. And then we have David Seltzer for Shining Through, which we have covered. Worst screenplay, Shining Through, screenplay by David Seltzer, as we have covered. Final Analysis, screenplay by Wesley Strick. Christopher Columbus, Discovery, screenplay by John Briley and Cary Bates and Mario Puzo. So you'll have something you want to say about this, surely.
Well, this is it. This is what we're saying. It's the Godfather Connect. This is the year of Godfather cast-offs, I guess.
Yeah.
I genuinely didn't know this. I love Mario Puzo as an author as well. I adore the Godfather book.
I was going to say, is this not one of the trademark Kyle contrarian takes? Is you're like, you know what, the Godfather book's actually better than the film.
I'm not going to say it, but if you want to infer it, actually the sequel, The Sicilian, is better. But no, I'm a big fan of, especially The Godfather and The Sicilian are two, especially The Sicilian, actually. I really like that. I'm a big Puzo mark, a big fan of him. I didn't know he did this. This is new to me, so again, I'm just going to stick up for Christopher Columbus, the movie in general. Yeah, like, nothing, Puzo can't have his name on it.
Then we have The Bodyguard, written by Lawrence Kasdan. Bodyguard, whatever faults it has, I actually think it's a good screenplay. Like, I think it's a compelling, like, it's not, like, it's maybe, like, a little bit, like, sort of, like, fluffy B-movie, but, like, I think that's a good sort of engine for a film. I like it.
Mm-hmm. No, that's absolutely fair enough.
Then the winner, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, written by Blake Schneider, William Osborne, and William Davies.
Yes. Again, this is a deserved win. It's crazy to think 3 writers did this movie as well. I can only imagine it was just finished off by other people, passed on maybe an Alan Smithy almost deal. But it deserves it. Again, it could sweep everything, so it deserves it.
And then I guess we did have a throwaway reference earlier on, but this is my opportunity for Paul Thomas Anderson talk. Worst new star, we have Sharon Stone's tribute to Theodore Cleaver. I did 3 beavers. Leave it to Beaver. Yeah. 3 beavers. In Basic Instinct. Okay, whatever. Hack joke. Whitney Houston in The Bodyguard.
I mean, if it's, it's strange because maybe it's warranted a little bit, but it's also a film that did help propel her even bigger stardom as well. I mean, this is a global phenomenon, the movie and soundtrack, obviously. So I'm gonna give her a pass, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's fine in that she's like a crossover star. She's not a child. So like in terms of meeting our criteria for the category, she at least qualifies. And then it's just whether you think she deserves it.
Yes.
So whatever. From one Bodyguard nomination to another, we have Kevin Costner's crew cut in The Bodyguard, which, I don't know, this is just someone wanting, I don't know, before Twitter, if you wanted to make a joke, then you needed to make up an entire like bad movie awards ceremony and run it for like 3 decades. It's just, I don't know. It's not that. It's not funny.
No, it's cringe. Again, I don't even want to say that word, but it is. This is what my problem where you can't make your joke ceremonies into a joke. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
I get what they mean in that it doesn't suit him, and that's where I'm like, I don't think Clint Eastwood would have been better at The Bodyguard, but you do need someone who is just a bit more like stick up their ass. Like Costner is stick up his ass, but not in the right way. Then we have George's Coraface in Christopher Columbus as Christopher Columbus.
So I'm abstaining after I've been doing throughout this whole film. I know him from one film, Escape from LA, I think.
Okay.
Carpenter's 90s. I mean, yeah, that's 96, so that must be after this. That's the only thing it's the only name I remember, so no comment.
Well, he hasn't done much American cinema. He basically seems like the Greek Mark Rylance or the French Mark Rylance. and that he's a French actor of Greek descent who predominantly did theatre and sort of French cinema.
Yeah, what have you got him open there just now on your end?
I did have, yeah.
Was he an Escape from LA, or did I make
He
that
was,
up?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's like, there's too big.
Okay.
From one true artist to another, we have possibly the most locked in nomination in Razzie history. Worst New Star, Pauly Shore in Encino Man as Stanley Stoney Brown. He resolved to freeze the weasel.
So, yes. I mean, we haven't really spoke about Pauly, have we?
No.
I mean, so it's a common consensus now in the world, isn't it? But like, no one likes Pauly Shore. Not even Pauly Shore. So I have seen Encino Man years and years and years back. I think at the height of the Brendan Fraser, George of the Jungle time, where I'm seeing everything that he's in. Pre-Mummy, just he's in everything, Airheads and stuff like that. So I remember this film. I remember this film more without Pauly Shore though as well. So
really, he's all over it.
I know, but like it's not what I remember. I remember Brendan Fraser being
good for
defrosted or whatever. Yeah, I know. I remember the basic plot of it.
Good for you for mentally salvaging Encino Man from just sort of I don't know, cutting Pauly Shore from the movie and just lifting him out.
I had a great director's cut, the Alan Smith cut, just edited him out or something. But I've had experiences since with Pauly Shore, let's say, and yeah, he deserves his worst new star because he's gonna stink up the next 4 films he's in and waste a lot of money by doing them. So yeah, in terms of being a worst new star, breaking through, yeah. This is an actual deserved winner for me.
Well, it is also, as we said, it meets the criteria of it's a crossover thing of he was famous as a personality TV whatever MTV guy. Yeah, so it's not as if he came from nowhere, and he's so annoying. I honestly he kind of makes Rob Schneider Rob Schneider kind of seems like Brando next to Pauly Shore. And oh, you know what? Rob Schneider, at least he doesn't do that sort of weird mouth thing that Pauly Shore does. And the buddy.
I think Offset, I'd rather hang out with Pauly Shore. I think he can turn it off more than Schneider. On set, I would fucking knock him out. I would be furious with him.
I would take you can do it over buddy.
I can't even do the lip thing he does, I'm not the weasel. I can't do it. But yeah, no, Pauly deserves this one.
I need to watch Futurama again just to detox so I can see him being tortured.
Yeah.
And then our final category, worst original song, Queen of the Night from The Bodyguard.
It's not the one song I know from the soundtrack, so no comment.
Yeah, it's okay. It's kind of good, whatever. Book of Days from Far and Away, music by Enya, lyrics by Roma Ray.
Oh, I've not seen Far and Away, and that's just popped up now in the nominations. So late in the game. So no, I have no comment. I don't even know what this movie is either.
Far and Away is the Irish one with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman.
Oh. Of course. Okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Never mind. I do know about it.
And then High Times, Hard Times from Newsies. Music by Alan Menken. Lyrics by Jack Feldman. So this was another Razzie First, or this was the first Razzie First where Menken won a Razzie and an Oscar in the same year because he won Whole New World for Aladdin while also picking up Worst Song.
Oh, so we got a first this month for this week. Sorry. That's okay. No,
I can't remember any individual song from Newsies, but they're all kind of okay. And interestingly, by this point in time, they have ditched score, which you singled out for praise in Shining Through, but I actually thought the score was kind of annoying. To the extent that when I watched the first 2 minutes again at the start, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, the score again.
Right. So no, and I didn't praise it. If you go when you listen back, fitting for its time, I think is what I said.
Yeah, true.
For a film of this period, of what it is of a period piece, it's trying to be a sweeping Hollywood 40s score. Also have to give me a break because we just watched Morbius, which didn't have a score to me and just had for 2 hours. So it's nice to hear actual composed music, and I get that James Bond connection with Michael Caine in as well. So
Well, that concludes this episode, and we have shone through for the past 2 hours, so I hope you have enjoyed listening to us. If you want to get in touch with us, then please send us an email at watchingworstfilms@gmail.com. You can let us know if you have seen this film, if you enjoyed it, if you didn't enjoy it, if you want to join the Legendary Sunflower Fan Club. And you can also follow us on social media, where we are Watching Worst on every single platform you can think of. And if you want to leave us a review on your podcast provider of choice, that would be very helpful and would help more people find the show.
Absolutely. Spread the word of shining through.
Next week,
where are we going now?
we're going to be heading to 2005 for some Dirty Love.
Can't wait.
Do you know anything about Dirty Love?
I'm going completely blind in back-to-back films. Didn't know existed, so yeah.
Yeah.
New one for me. You?
I didn't. I just Googled it to get the year, and I saw that just on its Wikipedia page, it says that it made $36,000 at the box office. So, on that basis, I am absolutely dreading this film.
Look at the runtime, though. We'll be fine.
So, join us next week for a film which probably had probably made about $100 for every minute of its runtime.
Excellent. Look forward to seeing you all guys then. Thanks for listening.
Bye.